What's up, fellas, and welcome to another episode of PolitiGoob with me, the Goob. I tripped some shrooms yesterday. Had a nice long think, so I'm not entirely sure. My energy is kind of low today. Not entirely sure what direction this stream will take, but there are a few important points I want to make and highlight before I, potentially devolve into ramblings. So one of the biggest things to happen recently has happened, and I think it went under a lot of people's radar. Let me pull up the screen here so I can show you what it is I'm talking about. But it's time to stop paying our taxes, like for real, seriously, this time. Not some meme, not some, vague thing, but this is Scott Bessent with a message to the American people.
I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase, be on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year.
Hopefully my audio is working and you were able to hear that, but in case you couldn't, what he's saying there is he is telling you to claim dependence on your W-4. He is telling you claim dependence that you don't actually have, so that the government is not taking taxes out of your paycheck every check, so that theoretically you keep all of your money, and then at the end of the year when taxes come due, you pay the taxes. Except this is the most direct message you're ever going to get from the government, telling you not to pay your taxes. What is going on with my screen? StreamYard's acting up on me. I can't. I don't know what's going on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, you're not going to get a more direct message from the government telling you it's time to stop paying your taxes than that. And like, there is no way, right? If you're not claiming dependence that you don't have, and the government is taking the money out of your check automatically every month, it's not like you can then reclaim that at the end of the year by like not filing. Like, you don't get that. The government's not going to give that money back. But if everyone actually listens to Scott's message here, and they claim dependence they don't have, so that the government is not taking money out of your check every single month, and then you come to the end of the year and everyone's got, thousands of dollars that they owe the government, now we're actually in a situation where we can actually just not pay it, where everyone can just go, nope, I don't think I'm going to this year. And we're certainly at the point where we should be doing that. You are funding your own destruction. I've talked years ago about how I have more respect for people who believe in things like Tartaria than people who look at the state of the world now and go, no, this makes sense, right? Because while Tartaria is bullshit, while all of the high technology stuff is not true, the reality is that people in the past did have a higher quality of life. They were more productive. We were able to create things like the city, the White City, the World's Fairs in 18 months, build an entire magnificent city. While, there's a bridge, I no longer live in Virginia, but there was a bridge near my house that's been getting built for the last 5 years. I'm quite confident it's still being built now. Like, it's not done. Our productivity is very literally being stolen from us. The productivity of the productive people is being redistributed to all of these third world 60 IQ animals. That is very real. So there's like a very real disconnect where everything you work for has been stolen from you. Your future has been stolen from you. Actual Americans are struggling to buy a home and support a family. Meanwhile, you have 60 IQ Somalis driving Lexuses with 7 children, right? It's not that our technological leverage is infinitely more than it was 100 years ago. and yet we're getting less and less and less because it's very literally being stolen from you. It is time to stop paying your taxes. You've just been given an invitation from the government itself to no longer pay your taxes. Sit down with your coworkers. If I don't know if you've already filled out your W-4s for this year, but if you haven't, like when they start going around the company, pull your coworkers aside, encourage them to do this. Show that video from Scott Besant. And in fact, I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now so that you can share this video with your coworkers. Show it to your neighbors. Show it to the people around you. Spread this message. This is it. This is the signal. This is the message. People have been talking about it for years, but again, there's no actual way to do this when everyone is having their paychecks deducted monthly. You can't, like, at the end of the year, reclaim that. Right now is the time. Right now is this is it. Don't pay your taxes. Claim dependents. Keep your check. Don't give it to them at the end of the year. Stop funding your own destruction. Stop funding your own genocide. Share that message. Who is Scott Besant? That's a good question. I actually don't know exactly. Treasury Secretary. He is the Treasury Secretary. That is the Treasury Secretary of the United States telling you in as direct of a way as he possibly can, don't pay your taxes. Okay? Please listen and encourage everyone around you to listen. The next point, hopefully, like, seriously, I pull your coworkers aside, show them that video, post it to your Facebook, share this message as much as you possibly can, share it in a very real way. Like, sharing it online is fine and great, but like literally pull your coworkers aside and tell them to claim dependents. Make sure they don't pay their fucking taxes. And that's it. That's it. Okay. On to the next message. Does anyone watching this think that the way that people in Britain are living right now is acceptable? Are tens of thousands of young British girls getting raped, that rape being perpetuated and defended by the system and the cops and the government itself? I've got another quick little thing to share. Let me pull up my screen again. That's not the right window, but let me get it. Here we go. So, does anyone think that this is acceptable? Where, these third world invaders are harassing this woman repeatedly at her home. The police refuse to do anything about it. And then they threaten to arrest her for racial hatred if she speaks out about it. She went to police. They refused to do anything. She said she'd go to the press, and they threatened to arrest her for inciting racial hatred. They were arrested, and this is the reality that is Britain now, is that your children are raped, you are attacked in the streets and harassed in the streets and in your home. And if you, merely for being a victim of these crimes, you are punished as the criminal. Is that an acceptable way to live? I think everyone agrees that it's not. So this is the reality that is coming to America, and in part is already here. What would be acceptable to stop that reality? What lengths would you go to prevent this? If we all agree that that's unacceptable, and we all understand that that is the direction we are heading, there is here another quick tab to share with you. This is South Africa, where they are openly calling to genocide white people. Like this is the reality of South Africa. It is open season genocide on white people. Is that acceptable? And what would be acceptable to stop that? Because that is the reality that we are quickly moving towards. That is what is coming, not only to America, but to every single white nation. There is no escape from this. This is systematic. This is global. This is a global effort. It is happening everywhere simultaneously. That's what is coming. That's what's already here. What would you do to stop that? What would you be willing to do to stop that? What would be acceptable to stop that? These are genuine questions that I want you to ask yourself, because, I've been encouraging things like bullying, things like just refusing to participate in the woke games, and like getting so much pushback just for that. That's not anywhere close to what's actually necessary to stop this shit. It needs to be so much more brutal than that. It needs to be so much more than that. And yet there's still people who are desperate to participate in the very system that is working to destroy them. Like in South Africa, you still have white people there who are still giving legitimacy to a system that is openly calling for their death. They are still participating in a system that is openly calling for their death. What would you do to stop that? What would be acceptable to stop that? These are things that you have to actually ask yourself and start wrestling with these ideas. And to make clear that this is what's coming to America, if for some reason there's still doubt, this is the mass amnesty bill, the Dignidad or whatever the fuck. These are all the Republicans that supported it, that are sponsoring it. This is what it actually looks like. These are the temporary protected statuses of these people, right? I've talked about how there's, hundreds of thousands of Somalis in Minneapolis. They are legal. The hundreds of thousands of Somalis that are living in Minneapolis currently are there legally. How are they there legally? Because they downloaded an app. Like literally, they came to America. They came into the country once they were into the country. So they had to physically cross the border. Once they physically crossed the border, they downloaded an app. And now they have temporary protected status, making them legal residents here. That temporary status for Somalia, 35 years. So for 35 years, they are essentially legal citizens here. They're not quite citizens, but they're, they get the welfare, they get everything that a citizen would benefit from for the next 35 years. Once that 35 years is up, do you think America's going to be like, okay, time to get out? No, they will have had thousands and thousands and thousands of children who are now legal U.S. citizens, full citizens because of the birthright citizenship, right? Like this is, there is no end to this. We are being invaded, full on, full force invasion. You have Muslims marching in Idaho calling for Sharia law. This is America now. This is our reality now. It only gets worse, and it only accelerates, and it's getting worse unless it is stopped. So if you do not want to become South Africa, what actions are you willing to take to stop it? These are real questions that you need to ask yourself. God, StreamYard is fucking up today. Yeah, start a church. So that's, that was something I was wrestling with on my shroom trip yesterday, is like I genuinely feel a sense of responsibility to the future, to humanity itself. Um, I want to shepherd it into a better future. And I think that, that has been part of human nature for all of humanity. And it's something that seems to be rapidly disappearing. Um, I, I feel quite isolated and alone in those feelings. And the thing is, I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only person who recognizes what's happening to the world and, wants to stop it by any means necessary. Um, but I don't have a community. I am not successful in finding people around me locally that think like I do, that share these ideas. And this idea of like being responsible for humanity's future, it seems to be devoid from the people around me. And I see other people, there's people like Homath, um, who seem to understand these things as well. And I think he feels quite isolated as well. And like all of these people who recognize these things, it's somewhat self-imposed isolation, because like we have the internet now. We have more ability to find like-minded individuals than ever before. And yet we're more isolated than ever before. And I get it, because like there quite literally is no community anymore in the real world. I mean, if you think about history, your community, it was you and your neighbors who would have to stand next to each other and fight off, in a very literal sense, like the invaders. Another village comes over and raids yours. It's like you are going to be shoulder to shoulder with your neighbor defending against that. Right. So there used to be like a very real sense of community. You needed to know your neighbors, you needed to have real connections with them so that you knew you could count on them and they could count on you. And that just doesn't exist anymore. Do you even know your neighbors anymore? How many of your neighbors do you know? And how well do you actually know them? Do you actually have conversations about the state of the world, about, defending your community, about things like that? Like that doesn't seem to exist anymore. you know but for those of us who do still think that way, who do still want a world to work that way, who do recognize the evils of the world we live in currently, why hasn't there been any attempts to find those people online and like actually build that community there, that sense of understanding there? And I do get it, because like there's a paranoia about making connections with people online. There's also, as I'm describing this, I think most people who would listen to it would classify themselves as like, oh yeah, I get it. I'm an understander. Um, and most people who think that, they don't get it and they're not understanders. So it's like it's difficult to filter out the wheat from the chaff, I suppose. Um, but that doesn't mean the effort shouldn't be taken, and the effort is not being taken. Um, and so right before this video, I made a tweet and I tagged some people, basically expressing this, and I'm like, I know I'm not alone, but I am isolated, and it's time to stop being isolated. Real solidarity, real community needs to be built. Um, I've been talking about power dynamics a lot on this show, and I still feel like that message is not being understood. And I have an example that I hope will help highlight what it is that I'm actually describing. Before I get to that, I want to explain one thing about myself. I don't talk about myself and my personal life too much on here, but I'm going to take a moment to do that. I actually don't get called autistic or accused of being autistic or questioned about being autistic as an adult, hardly at all. It doesn't really happen. But I was a supreme autismo as a child, a tiptoe walking, step counting, license plate memorizing, like severe autist as a child. And I did not understand how human interaction worked. I'm an extremely high IQ, extremely autistic person, to be totally honest. And so I had to figure out human interaction through base principles. Like, I don't understand these things myself, so I had to figure them out from base principles. Um, and I did that. I had extreme insomnia from the time I was in kindergarten because I just couldn't stop thinking obsessively about everything around me. And so I actually understand the world in a very different way than most people. I understand human interaction in a very different way than most people. I like propaganda doesn't work on me because I see things for how they actually are, um, and not for how they're perceived by the masses, which is how most people operate, is through perception rather than reality. And so when I talk about these power dynamics, it's really difficult for me to translate that into a way that makes sense to most people. But I'm hoping this clip here will help. So this is what I'm talking about when, you know, let me just play it and then I'll discuss it. So do you see how he didn't flinch, for one, right? But do you see how when he said nigga, how she looks around to the audience because she was expecting and hoping and wanting the audience to have a aggressive, angry reaction to him saying that. I tried highlighting this with the clip of the girl like accosting the kid in the high school, you know, berating him for wearing a Turning Point USA shirt, a Charlie Kirk shirt. Um, the social programming of woke must be broken. That is priority number one, is that the social programming of woke must be broken. And it doesn't get broken by debating these people. It doesn't get broken by being more right than them or rational or logical than them. It gets broken through power dynamics. It gets broken through being unflinching and unyielding and unafraid to speak the truth. And that's exactly what we just saw there. He said nigga. She looks to the crowd, exasperated, like, isn't anyone going to do anything about this? Right? You have to embrace brutality. And you know, there's the saying like brutal honesty, right? Honesty is brutality. Um, I want to highlight another example. Let me show another example real quick. Because where is it? Where is it? Let me find it. There's a guy. Here we go. This is perfect. Oh man, StreamYard is really StreamYard's giving me all kinds of issues today. I do see you on the line. Give me a minute. I'll get to you, man. I'll get to you. So, by the way, is my audio working? So, guys holding a trans women or men sign.
Hello. Hey, stop it. Stop it. Control yourself. Hey, stop it. You're parked. You can't park there. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Stop it.
So this goes on like this, right? But you get the idea. This guy is holding a sign saying trans women are men, and the mentally ill tranny freak gets out of their car, starts chasing them down. The guy is literally running away. He physically attacks the guy. This, again, just continues like this. He never defends himself. He never does anything to actually stop this. He just kind of weakly goes, stop it, like a little faggot that he is. This is actually making the situation worse. What this guy is doing is actually making the situation worse. This guy needs to beat the ever-loving fuck out of that person. Normal people, the sheep, the followers, which is the vast majority of everyone, they see this and they side with the tranny because the guy is not actually taking control. Who's dominating the power dynamics here? The mentally ill freak who's triggered by a sign, or the guy holding the sign? It's the mentally ill freak, because they're willing to get aggressive, they're willing to get violent, and you just passively going, no, stop it, that's only making the situation worse. The time for shit like this is long past. The time for beating that tranny down into a pulp is where we're at now. That is what's required at the minimum, at the bare fucking minimum. I don't know how to translate the need for dominating power dynamics to destroy woke more effectively than those two clips. Like, if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, I don't know how to help. But this is nowhere near enough of what's required, what I'm describing, to actually fix things. But this is the first step. This is where we need to get people rather immediately, if we want any chance of reclaiming this country and preventing the complete and total global collapse of humanity and the genocide of white people. You need to be as brutal as possible against these woke ideas and these woke people. You cannot flinch. You cannot show weakness. You can only dominate the power dynamics. That's it. That's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and take this call. What's up, dog lover non-sexual?
What's up, dude?
How's it going, man?
It's going good. Hey, I had a tax story. Taxes.
Taxes, okay.
So with taxes, I'm a guy who I pay my taxes, whatever, the paycheck. I don't want to. I'm trying to like you're saying, like the guy said, yeah, we should find a way to stop paying, and then if they want to charge me, come after me, because this other year I pay my taxes, right? I do all my shit. They came after me for no fucking reason, said I owed them a bunch of fucking money, and it was all fraudulent. And I had multiple agents tell me, they're like, oh no, this is wrong, and it's on our end. And I was like, well then fuck you, dude. Fix it. And they're like, we can't do it. You have to do all that. I was like, no, I got to do legwork now. I have a job, faggot. That's how I pay my taxes, motherfucker. Your job is to figure it out. And it took me threatening them, multiple agents, like physically threatening them, to make this happen. To get, dude, taxes is insane. Like, and you have to treat them that way. You're like, dude, you're threatening my livelihood and my life, saying you're going to bring agents to my house, threaten me with guns. I'll threaten you with guns, motherfucker. You don't call me and say I owe you shit. You have to treat them that way and get these people to quit their fucking jobs. Stop doing this shit for the government and enforcing this bullshit. You have to force them to realize that they're fucking idiots for doing what they're doing. And that, yeah, we will come after you. If you're coming after my livelihood, I'll come after you and anybody you send after me, dude, because I didn't do anything wrong, and I will fuck your life up.
So
As much as I can. IRS agent on the phone, yeah, fix it, or you're getting fucked up, dude. You don't fuck with people's livelihoods. And so you have to bring it to the government. Call them. Harass them motherfuckers, dude. Threaten them as much as you legally can. Threaten them motherfuckers as much as you legally have the right to. That's what I do.
No, you're 100% right. And yeah, no, if people actually claim dependence and you have a mass, like an actual mass amount of people that are doing this, and then it comes tax season and everyone goes, oh, we owe thousands of dollars. A lot of people, one, just aren't going to have it to pay it.
That's what I haven't heard this. I got to look into this clip, dude. This sounds interesting, dude. I might have to refile and be like, no, I'm refiling. Fuck you, dude. Do your job.
Absolutely. And, a lot of the people who might have the money to pay it, even if they could pay it, choose not to. Like, yes, now you have a critical mass where they
first time they did this shit to me and said there was a problem with the filing, I just took it because I was like, dude, I don't want to go to jail, and I paid them through a payment plan, and then I found out it was fraud, and I tried to get that money back. Guess what? I'm still waiting on that. Never gonna happen, dude. It's fucking fraud. It's all fraud, dude. All they do is they find a way to trick you.
I've had taxes.
Yeah, I file through legitimate. I file through H&R Block every time, and I was like, well, if you're not accepting that, then what the fuck? What even is any of this shit? What is any of these companies, dude, that exist? None of it's real.
If you look at my thumbnail, one of the images I used is a frog boiling in the pot of bureaucracy, right?
Dude.
We submit ourselves to the system, which is kind of like what I was talking about with South Africa, how, their government, their people, they're literally...
That's California right now with the fraud. By the way, this is the whole country with the fraud. But yes. California's fraud is a special thing because California does have an economy, which I'm sure you know. It's like one of the top 10 economies in the world. We produce a lot of money. When you see that much fraud in California, you're like, okay, so that means there's so much money that they can have all of this fraud and still have people making money in the state to pay for the fraud? So you're telling me this state is worth, if you got rid of the fraud, it would bankroll the whole fucking country? So we wouldn't need any of this shit? Are you out of your fucking mind?
There was like 16 billion just through one program in California alone. But what you just said is exactly what I've been talking about for
the fraud alone would solve our country. If you got rid of the criminals and the fraud in California alone, you could solve the homeless in the entire country with what they're saving in money. Are you out of your, what's happening here, dude?
What you just said is exactly what I've been trying to highlight for years, which is that this discrepancy between what we're actually capable of versus and what we're doing versus what we're seeing. Like you said, where's
the receipt?
California is so great that they can spend hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud and yet still have a semi-functioning state. Right. And so
I'm still living a good life.
When I'm talking about your future and everything you have being stolen from you, I mean it in a very literal sense. Right. And if someone came up to you on the street and held a gun to you and said, hey, give me your shit, and we're going to take your house, we're going to take your money, you would fight that. But when it's happening through bureaucratic levers, when someone on a fucking phone 100 miles away from you can just make a decision to steal all of your shit.
And they've already done that here. That's why I rent.
But
in California, we rent and we just see it as normal. When we used to own 30 years ago, it was all owners. Now it's all renters.
Like you just said, people see it as normal. So it's just accepted. But that theft is just as real as if someone was doing it to you on the street. You have to treat it the same way as if someone was doing it to you on the street because the effect is the same thing. Everything you have and work for is being stolen from you. And just because it's happening through bureaucracy doesn't mean you should accept it anymore.
Right? I think we should start calling these bureaucrats, like call your congressman And as far as you can threaten them. Like there are ways you can tell them, like, no, dude, if you do this, you're coming after my livelihood, and I will defend myself. Like, there's ways to phrase things where it's like, yeah, you could try to charge me, but I'm just telling you how it is, dude.
The reality is, though, that community and solidarity need to be built, which is something that just hasn't happened. You know,
you got to make these people afraid, dude.
Yes,
these people, they say crazy shit, dude. The shit they say is insane. Like, congressmen say insane things. You have to make them afraid to even say that. It's like you can't go around saying you're gonna fucking trans kids and shit, or trans illegal immigrants in California in jail. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That's a law. You should have been laughed out of court with that.
Yes. So,
like, you should have been put in jail for even writing that as a law. You should have been put in jail. Or disbarred. You have a fucking bar license? Gone. How did you even write that as a fucking thing? You're retarded.
You're good at dominating the conversation, and I like.
Sorry.
You gotta let me speak a little bit. So, like, there's certain fundamental truths that need to be understood. You're talking about, like, these judges being disbarred and stuff. Like, that's just not going to happen. The purpose of a system is what it does, right? And this system is here to steal from you and prop up all of these third world people. The purpose is to oppress you and help everyone else. So the system is not going to fix itself. These judges will never be disbarred. They're never going to get removed from the bench. What has to happen is they need to die. Quite frankly, the judges need to be executed. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke, and it's very real. And
I totally get you, dude.
And there needs to be community and solidarity amongst those who are being oppressed and who are willing to actually fight at that level. And even if you're not willing to execute the judges yourself, you have to understand that that's necessary. You have to support the people that do that. You have to. Let me show you another clip real quick. This is let me find it. Give me a moment. I've got all these tabs open. Well, here, this one will do. This isn't the one I was looking for. I'll show two clips. Dude, StreamYard's giving me fucking troubles today. StreamYard's giving me so many troubles today. So, this is This is Democrat Rep. Premilia Jayapal calls for taxpayer-funded reparations for illegals. The people that have been inflicting this harm need to be persecuted and prosecuted, and we are going to have some form of reparation. So here you have, third world pieces of shit standing with their other third world pieces of shit saying, hey, we need to take even more of what you have and give it to these people. There's another clip I'm actually looking for. I'm not seeing it. Okay, so maybe I don't have it open for some reason, but it was this lady who got raped by a Somali. She was raped by a Somali, and there's like no question of this happening. I think it was on video. Oh, right. It was an Uber. It was an Uber driver, right? Somali Uber driver. Lady's drunk, so he pretends to drop her off at her house, takes her to a secluded area, rapes her. In the courtroom, the court is packed full of Somalis who are defending the guy. This is how these people
jury of your peers.
They will defend themselves. They will stand with themselves. And where is that solidarity on the right and the white? It doesn't exist. We are all isolated. We're all fucking paranoid. And
well, also, I'll say I was in a trial, and one thing I did notice when I was on, because I was a witness in a murder trial, One thing I noticed, because my county is California, so they're going to try and diversify it. And they had a few whites in there, and like you could see the difference in it's not a white on, it was a white on white crime. So it wasn't like a black guy involved or anything, but you could still see the difference in people like having sympathy for somebody who was like a possible murder child abductor. And you're like, what? How is there like this one juror who's like not seeing the story and like almost having a tear? You can see him being like, whatever. And you're like, is that really the jury of your peers? Like, these are the people,
So-
like, and it's never, I don't mean to be racial here, but it's never a fucking white guy who's doing that, or the white lady. Like, every once in a while, there's the white lady who's like feeling for, not on a white crime though. If there was a black guy, the white lady maybe.
So what you're saying is it's the white people don't participate in that, and that has to change, right? Like there is.
Well, they don't participate in the
recent
racial justice.
You have the recent clip of the juror from oh god, what the if the glove doesn't fit, you must quit.
It's kind of the idea of like, if a white guy's getting beat up by any other race, no other white guys jump in. But if a black guy's, oh, sorry.
Because you say a lot of good things that I want to respond to, but then before I ever get the opportunity, you're on to the next thing, right? So we got to take this one point at a time, right? But you have, why am I blanking on the guy's name? The football player who killed his white wife.
O.J. Simpson?
Driving the Tahoe, yeah. O.J. Simpson, thank you. So one of the jurors from that recently did an interview, and she talks about how, like, yeah, everyone on the jury believed he was guilty, but the black people chose to use jury nullification because, like, reparations, basically, right? And so that is how it works on their end, but white people refuse to do this. If you had, for example, a white guy go and kill one of these judges who are making these absolutely horrendous, ludicrous decisions, how quickly would other white people condemn that guy for his extremist behavior? How quickly would they move to convict that person instead of supporting them, instead of actively supporting and promoting that and using jury nullification and stuff? That has to change. There needs to be community. There needs to be solidarity. There needs to be an understanding that the system is working against you. The system is there to work towards you being dead. And you
so it's an ideology.
The rules of the system. You have to operate outside of the system, and you have to build your own solidarity, your own community. Start nullifying juries. Get on jury duty. Start nullifying juries. Start executing judges. Start promoting the execution of judges. Like seriously, this is there's so what you were just talking about, how like people have sympathy for the child rapists, for the killers and stuff. There is this idea of empathy that is not real empathy. I look at Genghis Khan, and I'm saying this without any without any edginess or anything. Genghis Khan was one of the most empathetic, kind.
No, he's one of my personal heroes, dude.
Yes, he absolutely my personal hero. He is one of the most empathetic and kind people the world has ever seen. And he expressed that kindness and he expressed that empathy through the most extreme brutality imaginable, because he saw thousands of tribes who were endlessly warring with each other. He saw the suffering that was coming from that, and he asked himself, how do I stop this? And you can't stop this with kindness, right? You can't stop this with empathy and go, oh, but that poor tribe, whatever, like the empathy for the child rapists and murderers. You have to use extreme brutality and extreme cruelty in order to actually create a kind world. And, white people just can't seem to wrap their heads around this concept anymore. They are so fucking mind raped by the modern world that we live in, where there is no community, there is no sense of responsibility to the greater world around you, to humanity itself, to the future, to your children and your grandchildren and their children. And so now I've been trying to convince people to take back control of power dynamics, to be a little bit more, just a little bit more brutal than they are currently. And I feel like that's mostly been falling on deaf ears. So, honestly, what I'm interested in now is finding people like me, finding people, just a second, who actually do understand the state of the world, who actually do understand what it will take to return things back to its rightful order, back to the way things should be. And I can't find that locally. I've been completely unsuccessful at finding that locally, and I wonder if it's just me. Are other people finding this successfully? But I don't think they are. There is no sense of community anymore. No one knows their neighbors anymore. No one is, ready to stand side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and fight off these invaders with their neighbors. Like, that has been eliminated from this world. But we do have the internet. We do have more ability to find each other than we've ever had before. And yet that's not occurring. So that's, I think, where my focus is shifting towards now. Is I want to find people who do understand that the system is here to kill you, and that
the system isn't going to let you do what you need to do.
You don't get out of that system by participating in it. You get out of it by breaking it through excessive brutality, and finding people who understand that and who are willing to not only participate in that brutality, but support that brutality, encourage that brutality, defend each other, who are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder. And so I know I'm not alone. I know that there are other people who understand the world the way I do, but I have no connection to any of them. Like, you look at Rome. When Rome collapsed, which was a long, drawn-out process, right? But, like, there were undoubtedly people who understood what was coming, who knew the collapse was coming, who, like me, were desperately trying to wake people up to that, who were desperately trying to tell people what was necessary to stop it. And they were ignored, and they were ridiculed, and they were laughed at, and they were told they were crazy schizos, just like, I am.
Which Roman era would you say if you were the emperor, which one would you relate to the most, would you think?
I don't know. I'm not a history buff either. I know that's a weird thing to say for someone who talks about history all the time, but like I do understand things very autistically, and so it's like I wouldn't be able to sit here and like list off Roman leaders and their accomplishments and stuff, but I also have like a better understanding of how Rome actually functioned than most people who would be able to do that, if that makes any sense.
That makes sense.
I work on the implications rather than the facts. I go, okay, so these are the facts, and I understand the facts, and I learn the facts, and then I go, okay, what do those facts actually mean about the world? What are the implications of those? And then I discard the facts because I just don't have the mental capacity to remember all of those like proper nouns and stuff.
So you'd probably
allows me to build a very effective mental model of how the world actually operates, if that makes sense.
Maybe the plumbing era of Rome.
So early Rome.
Yeah, probably early Rome.
But
like the vases, but with plumbing. I don't know. It's similar technology in a way.
But yeah, no, I enjoy your calls, man. I like the energy, and you get individually these things. You get that like you are being stolen from, and you get that like we are being invaded. You get all of these things individually, but I'm not sure you can put them all together at the same time and look at them as a whole. Which is what I find to be the case for like the vast majority of everyone.
I would love to find a whole.
Yeah, because if you are looking at things as a whole, like you do understand that
Yeah.
the
I'm in
things
World
I'm
War
saying
III
aren't
already.
predictions. The things I'm saying aren't predictions. Like when I talk about white genocide, when I talk about the complete and total collapse of Western civilization, like these aren't things that might happen. These aren't things that like, oh, I'm worried about that. This is what absolutely is happening. And the current trajectory we are on, there is 0% chance that they don't happen. And
I'm
so
trying to keep it alive, brother.
I go back to what I asked at the beginning of this episode. If you look at South Africa, if you look at England, and you understand that like that's not acceptable, and you understand that that is the direction we are rapidly heading,
Yeah, those are Brits, dude.
what are
America.
you willing to do to stop that? What actions are you willing to take? How are you actually going to maneuver in your own life? What choices will you make in order to stop that reality from manifesting?
Oh shit.
Because
Why, dude?
if radical changes are not made, that is the reality that will manifest and is currently manifesting.
I mean, I could hook up a weapon right now. I don't have a gun or a sword out here. I got a bow and arrow.
And
That's
that's
how
all
I'll do
great.
it.
That's all great, but it also means nothing without solidarity. It also means nothing without community. If you go and you go, let's say you go kill a dozen judges right now, you find the worst 12 judges in America who have made the absolute worst atrocities of justice, and
They're all in my state too, right? By the
and
way.
you went and you executed them all. What happens then? Will there be people taking to the streets to support you the way that George Floyd was? Will
No, the
there
way
be
that
people raising
Luigi
funds?
Mangione.
Will there be people raising funds for your legal defense? Will there be people who will be ready to do even more of what you just did? Is any
Not
of that?
with the mainstream media. The mainstream media would go anti Luigi Mangione because they love that guy.
I'm
But
not
if you
even
kill
talking about the media. I'm talking about the people. What would the actual reaction of the people be? You would be condemned. You would be labeled an extremist. You would there would be no mass protests in your support. There would be no one else standing up and going, "I'm going to be next. I'm going to get the next 12."
Yeah, that wouldn't happen because the military and the government would just come after anybody. Like that would go crazy, dude.
Right. So
If you start killing federal judges, dude, if there's a mass killer of federal judges, like, this is an old trope. Like you'd immediately activate the executive branch to do everything they can do to be like, we're quelling this uprising of people who are against our agenda, because that's their agenda, by the way.
right,
They have
but the
federal
point is,
judges who are doing this. This is an old trope. Like you start
but there
getting
will
rid
be
of
no
these
mass
people who are
uprising.
doing the bidding of the fucking donors, because that's what it is. They're just doing the bidding of these
The
fucking
point I'm making is that
billionaire lunatics.
the point I'm making is that right now, if you were to do that right now today, there would be no mass uprising. There would be no mass up. Yes, the government would still have that reaction, right? But
Because the people are afraid to uprise.
right,
Because
and
they know the
and
consequences.
why are they afraid to uprise though? Is because there is no community, there is no solidarity, there is no one there ready and willing to go, yes, we understand the consequences.
That's why we need this.
And we're willing to do it anyways, right? Because and that's where we need to be, because the consequences of not doing this are that the system will continue to destroy you. So your choice is build this solidarity, build this community, and be prepared and ready truly to fight back against it, to work outside of the system, or submit yourself to the system and be oppressed and watch Western civilization crumble, watch white genocide happen, and watch humanity itself descend into hell. And so and part of this is the power dynamics. Part of building that community, part of building that solidarity is through taking back control of those power dynamics, showing people that, hey, I am willing to stand up against this in smaller ways, not mass executing judges, but going, yeah, I'll say nigger, no problem, right? And yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
fucking
niggers.
flinch. And I know you're waiting for the crowd to attack me, and I'm gonna say nigger anyways, and I'm Sieg fucking hail nigger, right? These are the messages I've been delivering since day one, but it's just not happening. It's not happening and I don't know how to make it happen, but I do know that if it doesn't happen, we all die. So ask yourself, is South Africa acceptable? And if it's not, which it's obviously not, what are you willing to do to stop it? And you can't do it alone, because one lone person, executing judges or whatever, doesn't actually change anything.
No.
There needs to be solidarity. There needs to be community. White people need to be building. Find your allies. And hey, I'm going to go ahead and drop the Discord link.
It's white ideology, like the ideology of Western culture. It's not white people. It's like there are other people who have joined into what whiteness is, and they're like, no, this is a better culture than what the fuck stone carving they do.
Yes, but also there's regression to the mean, right? There's regression to the mean. So it's like you can't use the outliers. We've tried this approach of inclusivity, and I know, and yes, we all want the world to work that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't. When you are bringing over millions and millions, 100 million plus third world 60 IQ animals who believe that they deserve everything that you have, and if you don't give them everything that you have, that they have the right to kill you for it, you can't count on the outliers. You have to, unfortunately, look at the mean, and the mean is that those people are 60 IQ animals, and they will behave as such, and they will defend each other when they behave as such. They will have
fighting. Yeah.
They will have the community. And so, yeah, there needs to be a building of white community. I just sent the Discord link. So if this is resonating with you guys, feel free to join the Discord. Right now, my Discord is full of retards who don't even watch my content, and I'm happy to kick all of them out if new people actually join in. I don't even use my
Discord?
Yeah, I just posted the link. So if you join it, if you want to discuss these things, if you want to actually try and find some people who think similarly to you and help each other, help more people, feel free to join, sign up. But
hell yeah,
there's a lot of people who are going to choose not to be saved. There's a lot of people who are lost causes, and you can't waste time on them. And the only way to save potentially some of those lost causes is through building something. You have to find people who understand what the world is, help them understand what it will take to change reality so that the world does not become what it will inevitably become, the collapse of Rome. You have to find people who want to stop the collapse of Rome, who understand that Rome is collapsing, and then work together to stop that. And through that community, through that solidarity, through being unyielding white niggers, what's the Wangaff, the white nigger gangster, don't give a fuck. I don't even remember. I butchered it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Right? Like by being the unapologetic, unflinching people, surrounded by more people who are unapologetic, unflinching, who are willing to do what is necessary, that is the only hope of saving some of these people who are trapped within the system, who are still trying to operate within the system that is working to kill them, is by you finding people who are willing to work outside of the system and working together and showing them that there is another way. So rather than trying to save everyone all at once, because that approach just isn't working and isn't going to work, I am looking for people who understand and who, like me, also feel isolated because they're also not surrounded by people who think the way that you do or I do, and building community, building connections, building courage within each other. building a system where if someone were to go out and execute 12 of the worst judges who have ever judged, right, that there would be people willing and ready to support that person, who would be ready to go to the streets and go, no, free my man Dan.
Yeah, just like Luigi Mangione. Like, they're like, free this guy for, he didn't even kill anybody of importance. Like, kill somebody who matters, dude. Like, what are we talking about here?
So
people want to free this fucking faggot?
But it starts by
changing the populist idea.
It starts by saying nigger to the white girl who's pleading with the crowd for the crowd to attack you, and you being unflinching and unapologetic and going, Sieg Hail, nigger. I don't give a fuck. Right? So that's where it starts. It starts with the power dynamics. Help support the people who get it. Let them know that they're not alone. It would be great for myself to not feel so isolated and so alone. It would be great to have a community, even if it's not physically with me, to at least have some solidarity, to at least have some comfort in knowing that I'm not completely alone. And I do, like, I look at Homath, right? And he's saying many of the same things that I'm saying. And I'm quite confident that he feels very isolated as well. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and I guarantee you he feels alone and isolated, which is kind of ridiculous because
that's part of why I came in here, Goob. It's because, like, I'm a regular guy.
And I love you for it. I really do.
I'm a regular construction guy. He drinks all day, smokes, but like I see you and I'm like, you're everybody that I work with. Like, everybody says all this shit. Like, they're just not saying it online. It's not, like, out there, and they're not voting it.
So maybe I am.
Like, a lot of my families, a lot of them are doing their shit. Like, this is most of the country, dude, is you. Like, I don't meet anybody who's these leftists. I'm in California, and I don't even meet these fucking leftists. And I'm like, what? How is this even happening? It all has to be rigged, dude. That's my final stance, dude.
You know, it's like the tranny thing, right? They were able to push the perception that was the mass opinion.
Yeah, of 0.02% of the population.
When it was such a small minority of the opinion of people who actually supported it. And why was that allowed to happen? It's because people on the right and the whites, they do keep their opinions to themselves. They don't have community. They don't have solidarity. And
I'm just trying to get through my day, dude. It's hard enough already.
You just want to get home from work without getting punched in the face, literally or figuratively.
Yeah.
That is the problem. But that is the problem. That is why these things are allowed to happen. So we need to find people who think like us and encourage them to stop being silent, to stop keeping their head down, to start being louder, to start being bolder, to start being
I've done it.
Right. When like that the clip of the guy who's holding the trans women or men sign, he's like doing the right thing, right? But he's not, because by being passive, by not beating the shit out of that tranny who
that was insane, dude.
Him, it's only encouraging that behavior more, and it's only showing the people who do think like him, the people who are against that, oh, well, he's not even going to stand up for himself. No one else is going to stand up for him because he won't even stand up for himself. And so you have to start standing up for them yourself, and you have to start standing, for the people around you, like community and solidarity and power dynamics.
You can't be afraid of being arrested. Is what I'll say. Like,
you can't be afraid of any of it. No, if you're gonna, people are afraid of being socially, shamed. Oh, you're racist. The spell is starting to wear off to a degree now. But like, think of how the literal decades of like someone could just go, oh, you're racist, and the shrinking, oh no, not me, I'm not racist. Please don't. Please. So it's not even just arresting. Like, dude, people are so terrified of like the social consequences. And yeah, you can be afraid of the social consequences, and then your children will be raped, their graves will be danced on, and you'll be thrown in jail. Like, okay, great. Be afraid of the social consequences. Be afraid of being arrested. The outcome is going to be 1,000 times worse.
It will. Dude, it's gonna be so much worse.
So that's the first step, is being
But
brave, being bold, and showing people that it's okay to do that.
shout out Goob, dude. I love you, dude.
Thank
You're
you.
one of
I
my
love you
favorites.
too. I really do. I really do appreciate your calls.
It's just hard to bounce off you because I agree with so much of it, and I'm trying to be contradictory, and I'm like, I don't know how, because I kind of agree with so much of what you're saying. I'm like, I'm trying to just get you into an argument, but
People need to understand Genghis Khan's mentality,
Temujin,
where
right? That's my first quote in my quote book. Of
you
like when
can
I open
have
up my quote book, and by the way, every other page is Genghis Khan. Temujin is his name. I love that man. He's like one of my greatest scholars of life.
you can look at the 1,000 different tribes endlessly warring with each other, endlessly raiding each other's villages, raping each other's women, slaughtering each other's children, and you can accept that and live with that horrible, horrible reality, or you can embrace extreme brutality and you can bring peace and flourishing and true good and a natural order to the world. Those are your choices, but you don't get there through debate. You don't get there through being empathetic and kind to people. You get there through extreme brutality.
No,
So,
and tolerance. Tolerance through brutality was his method. He let you be your religion, but you got to live it through
but it
his
starts with
worldview.
brutality.
Yes.
It starts with brutality. You can
Either you submit.
bring in those other things. You can bring in those other things once you've established the brutality. It has to go in that order. You can't start with tolerance. You have to start with brutality, and then once the brutality is established, then you can bring
Greatest man who ever lived, dude. Temujin.
But thank you for your call. I think I'm going to wrap up the episode. I appreciate it, man.
Also, look up Oda Nobunaga is a good guy to look up if you want to look up like just history of like political factions changing and shit. It's another good one, kind of related in a way.
Yeah, will do. Sorry, I cut him off there a little bit, but the final point that I'll make is that if you look to history, overwhelmingly, the savage primitive hordes have conquered the advanced noble people, right? There are endless examples from history of the advanced civilized people being conquered and dominated and destroyed by these savage, low IQ, simple, primitive hordes. And it's not because the advanced people didn't have the ability to fight it off. It's that they allowed their civility to destroy themselves. They were unwilling to embrace the brutality that was necessary to defend themselves. And so you have primitive hordes overrunning and destroying the advanced civilized people. That is the pattern of history. And that will continue being the pattern of history unless white people learn to embrace brutality. They learn to stand with each other, to understand that they must find community and solidarity within their brothers. And they must be willing to fight the brutal savages with more brutal savagery than they are. That's it. Peace out, fellas.